Right? All right. This is gonna be a familiar video, and you're gonna see a lot of those. And it's because I'd never want to let them live their fantasy. It's disgusting that I'm forced to experience these things. You see this blurry picture of a father of this little girl, very adorable little girl, very, very cute. It's so sad that I'm experiencing this nastiness. But they're saying, they make me experience these nasty things. And it's always like that. It's very adorable baby with her father, wholesome picture. With me, what I'm experiencing is disgusting. They give me stimulations and nastiness. And then they try to talk about, but remember what you did around the same age of, like, you see the picture in green over there. It's like, that's the same thing. We're just making me feel the same way you. I'm like, first of all, no. You're forcing me to get stimulations. I know what I did as a child one time around the same age as this kid. You see in green. But that's what a child is capable of doing and never think twice about it. That's what children do. Children are capable of doing stupid things like that and not think twice about it. They can be impulsive. Now, they're forcing me to get stimulation just to make me think remember what you did, but you felt kind of like, I'm like, oh my gosh, first of all, I'm an adult, 30-some years old. You can never make me subscribe to this. And yes, you're forcing me to feel stimulations. We're not talking about a little 8th grader who just non-stop have no shame. These people who are renowned to do this peripheral type of torture and try to make me imagine the scenario of what I did as a kid, but this time thinking about using this kid, or making me imagine this kid being like just something like that, and try to exaggerate what I did as a child that age. But like so you understand? They're trying to make me believe this. No, you're literally making me feel stimulations, and then you hear that now you pay. You're gonna hear what they do to kids. They'll tell me castrate you. Listen, I'd rather get castrated. First of all, they torture children as young as this baby. This is real life. This is adult men and women involved in program that does horrible things to babies that are young. And me, they try to make me imagine, okay, imagine like that, but give you stimulations to make me think that's how you would feel. I was like, oh my gosh, you know how much they try to work this? I'm like forced to be feeling stimulation, then try to bring me to the moment of a child doing something to me. And then they try to have these dialogues where they're like, oh my gosh, how would people able to deal with me? And I try to like, what? How am I able to deal with people involved in program that does these things to people? That's the question. They try to like rewire reality. I know these people force adult men and women to experience nasty stimulation toward children. You know, something as a child that age do as a child, is what kid can be capable of doing. They're in a program that tortures babies as young as her and younger. And they're renowned for the peripheral type of torture. And these agencies that contract this low life, that gives them this godlike empowerment that they feel like they have, are filled with pedophiles. What they do to me is not new to just me. They do that to others. And try to be like, no, but what you make you feel this way is like what you feel. And they literally like, I can feel stimulations. And try to like, okay, remember that moment as a kid, what you did to yourself? Like, no, I was a kid that used to be, I was a kid that just non-stop, like, it's falsified. You are literally trying to force me to experience that. And I'm an adult. Like, they don't, the sense of reality to them, it has to be escaped. Because it's fair. They do the peripheral type of torture. They just try to find a way, okay. Let's talk about him when he was a kid, what he did. How can we try to make it seem like what he's experiencing today is like what he was experiencing when he was a kid? Illogical in the first place. Or dumb as it gets. But then it's falsified too. And they try to get you to feel stimulation and remember the moment when you did the stupid thing. They try to create this. And they castrate. And now, because they say I'm going to be raped. These people are nasty, but I'm here to always put things in perspective. They do these nasty things and then they try to make you feel like scared, like happy. You're like, what? How can grown men and women can dumb themselves down to this way? You understand this noise campaign? This is just now. How can a grown man and a woman can try to make themselves believe that this makes sense? These people involved in the program that you hear what they do. They are delusional. You know what? When I look at these people and I'm like, first of all, forget about the psychological manipulation. They force me to break me down. Imagine I know these people torture children. and then try to find the logical ways to try to make you accept these perfect things that you experience. And try to like, oh, okay, they feel like that. You feel like, and no, you just literally try. You give me stimulation, then you bring me to that moment when I'm like, I do whatever I do to myself, and then like, you see, that's what you. No, you are forcing me to experience stimulation toward that baby, because you're forcing me to have this stimulation. Me as a kid, you're at that age where anytime you do something to yourself, anytime, all the time, anything you all go. And so they try to find, how can we create these things? Like, what? You're delusional. And try to force you to experience this situation. And they look at her and like, oh, but this is disgusting. That's what you're forcing me to experience. That's nasty. And now they go to memory and falsifying your memories. Instead of a reality of what? A kid at that age that could not stop, like, do things to himself. And now being forced to experience this when I look at babies like that. And it's like, now we match it to you as a child. It's so disgusting. It's so disturbing. But you gotta be strong. But listen to what they do to children. And they're like, it's gonna be their anal. I rather gay, whatever you tell me is gonna happen to me, they're having to do these things to people and then try to make them subscribe to this. To them, it's logical. Oh, we're gonna castrate you. You remember what you did as a kid? Do you remember that you tortured children? Do you know that you force men and women to feel these disturbing things for children? Me, it was just an impulsive moment that I tried to create as like a thing I was feeling all the time, or something that I looked at as like, I get the stimulation. No, this is a kid that does stupid things to himself all the time, and that moment is just happening, and then never thought twice about it. They try to create something. These people who torture children and who force men and women to feel this nasty stimulation in a program that tortured children, and then ran by pedophiles. They're delusional and trash. That's why I do these things. Because they live in a reality that's falsified. And they try to live on it. And stand on something that's falsified. That's what they can break easy. They live on nothing. To make you accept this false reality. Because what's happening today, they force me to get stimulation. And they're like, no, you'll see like this when you're a kid. No, I will not. But I'm not a kid. And I know what I did as a kid. You, who tortured children, tell me castrate. I'd rather get my penis and testicle cut up in pieces than be in a program that tortured children and then force people to think in these ways. They don't even want to be seen because I know what they do to even three-year-old babies. They are trash. To try to create this nasty simulation that will match it to you as a kid. No, I was not even thinking like that when I was a kid. I know. That was just an impulsive moment that a child can do. Boop, nothing. Now they can make me look at kids and give me this weird sensation stimulation that falsified. Try to be like, we match it to you as a 13-year-old, 12-year-old. So all my target individuals know that justice will be done for this low-lifeness. They're cowards and bottom feeders.
Not knowing what to do other than to just cradle the infection, which they turn off or on, as well as up or down in severity. Right after nearly every shower, and sometimes during the shower, they do severe symptoms of a yeast infection, sometimes making me scratch my genitals so much that it leaves my genitals painfully raw, making it hard to walk or sit or go to the bathroom. I would now like to talk about the people around me being manipulated by these electronic weapons as well. There does not appear to be a need for microchips or nanotechnologies to manipulate the minds and bodies of anyone around me, anywhere in the world, which I have repeatedly witnessed. For example, they make people around me burp, hiccup, and sneeze repeatedly, especially the sneezing, because the V2K says it's like an orgasm, so they make people around me sneeze excessively to threaten more sexual assaults. I am currently a speech-language pathologist working in private practice with young children. I had a 7-year-old client who has autism, and she was the most significantly affected of all of my clients. I eventually had to tell this client to go to another clinic, and they used her to threaten the most torture in me, as well as their most extreme forms of torture. For several months, she would cry and scream horribly during our therapy sessions, despite having a great day at school. This was highly unusual behavior for her, as she usually behaved very well during her therapy sessions and had been making incredible progress on all of her therapy goals. This was used to threaten extreme torture on me, making me scream and cry, etc. They would make the kids act out the kinds of torture that would later be done on me. For example, they would also sometimes make her bite her hand, threatening to make me bite my hands, as they often do. One day, she had a large, severe bite mark on her arm. She has also grabbed her crotch, saying, "Ow," and this was used to threaten me with severe sexual torture. One day, I also observed her gasping for air a few times in the same way that I do when I am being more severely suffocated. The suffocation had been in a mild state for a while up until this point. Many of their torture methods are cyclical in severity. Right after I saw this child being suffocated, then I began to experience very extreme suffocation all day, every day, for about 2 months straight, and that's also when they made it worse when I eat. Then I also work with a 4-year-old little girl with Down syndrome, as well as her 5-year-old sister who also has Down syndrome. I observed both of these girls suddenly grabbing their genitals in pain and verbalizing, "Ow."
I just can't take this whole thing into account so much. I make it so dramatic. It is dramatic. It's somebody trying to end my life. It's somebody trying to end who I am as a person. It's somebody trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophilia. This disgusting, disgusting, disgusting things. You saw where I was going with that first word. Disgusting things that I don't even want to talk about because it makes me sick. I don't even like those words in my mind. But it is what it is. So I have no choice now but to acknowledge that there are people in my surroundings or whatever they're doing. I don't know.
Voices, noises, and music directly into my mind to communicate with me in real time and at the speed of thought. And it also includes the manipulation of thoughts, emotions, and perceptions in the person's mind. Additionally, the targeting is all highly perverted and sexual, as well as destructive and violent. I also experience what is referred to as malodorance. This is the alteration of the smell sensation so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture, including the threat of planted dreams and videos in my closed eyes. Pornographic images and videos, including highly disturbing pedophilia type of images and videos when I close my eyes.
Also a form of sensory deprivation which will be discussed later. Days and weeks lose their meaning. 6. Sexually disturbing tailored pornography. The summary of the Senate torture report disclosed the disgusting revelations that in the secret torture derogatory to their lifestyle and similar mental images. Almost all targets are forced to view child pornography in their minds.
Sound like an angry ass old person, then a couple of days later a female said the same thing, don't get shot in the face, stupid shit like that. But what I really noticed is with the Voice of Skull, it's a bunch of females, and I'm like, bro, really, you're not a woman. What real woman would stalk another female?
Involving children, says BuzzFeed, including the viewing of images of abuse, have been uncovered at other agencies that handle sensitive information. In a November 2009 report, the Department of Defense acknowledged that dozens of Pentagon staff members or contractors had such images. In 2014, the Inspector General of the Intelligence Community found that 2 officials from the National Reconnaissance Office, which oversees America's spy satellites, acknowledged viewing images of child sexual abuse during polygraph examinations. This is so disturbing. At a symposium in 2016, Daniel Payne, a top Pentagon security official, said that when workers' computers were examined, the amount of child porn I see is just unbelievable. Is this something that is happening for whatever reason with more frequency in our intelligence agencies, or is this something that is more pervasive in the general population than I originally realized. I mean, what's going on here? This is so bizarre and so evil.
Allie, we're told, and when I was put through recruitment into the intel community, you're put through polygraphs, you're put through a rigorous selection process. Why aren't these people weeded out? Why are so many pedophiles allowed to be given top-level security clearance? Remember, these aren't just people walking in off the street and saying, hey, can I get hired? Can I get a job? You're put through an extremely rigorous background check screening process. It's called an SSBI, single scope background investigation. There are people, they interview you, they interview your family, they interview your contacts, they go through your online footprint, they go through everything. So why is it that when they're going through these footprints, they're not checking, these digital footprints, they're not checking for so many pedophiles getting through their ranks? If it were up to me, you need to go into Congress, and Congress needs to launch a brand new church committee, number one, to talk about domestic surveillance operations, but number two, to ask the question, why are there so many pedophiles sitting behind those computer screens within the walls of Langley, within the Pentagon, and throughout the broader intelligence community?
6-year-old, he was simply fired. One employee purchased sexually explicit videos of young girls filmed by their mothers. He resigned. One employee estimated that he had viewed up to 1,400 sexually gives, and like you said, only one actually served any jail time for this. One employee had sexual contact. This is one employee of the CIA had sexual contact with a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old. He was simply fired. One employee purchased sexually explicit videos of young girls filmed by their mothers. He resigned. One employee estimated that he had viewed up to 1,400 sexually abusive images of children while on agency assignments. Not sure what actions, if any, were taken by him. One contractor arranged for sex with an undercover FBI agent. I think that you mentioned that. Posing as a child, he had his contract revoked. One CIA staffer was charged with child sexual crimes, and the employee was also under investigation for mishandling classified material. The CIA did not answer detailed questions, saying only that the agency takes all